We finally got our first gameplay trailer for Pokemon Legends ZA, in case you didn't notice. And today we're going to be going over the things that I picked up on or were brought to my attention by someone else that I think maybe you've missed, or at the very least, we aren't talking about enough. Okay, so let's jump right into it with the very first thing, perhaps the biggest thing in my opinion. Now, I know people like to start small and work their way up. No, we're starting with a heavy hitter here. So it looks like Pokemon Legends EA is not coming out in November, and many of you will be like, okay, come on, Lumi. We saw that Pokemon Legends EA is supposed to release in late 2025, and anytime we've gotten this notification, or this announcement date, this release window, whatever you want to call it, it has been November. This was the case for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It said that it would come out in late 2022, and guess what? Scarlet and Violet came out in November of 2022. However, it actually only says late 2025 in the English trailer. If you watch the Japanese trailer, it uses the kanji for autumn 2025. Now, you may be going, okay, but November is still fall, and you are correct, but when you compare this to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's announcement trailer, in the Japanese version of that, it says wintertime 2022, and Scarlet and Violet came out in November. So the fact that they're calling this an autumn release, whereas they called Scarlet and Violet a November released game, a wintertime release, that really does imply that Pokemon Legends EA is going to be coming out earlier than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet did. Now, this may not be gigantic because it is, just fall versus winter, so it could be a month difference, honestly. But I'm going to be real with you, I will take it because we've known about Legends EA for what is now over a year, and we only just got our first game. I'm excited for this game. The game also looks really, really good. It seems to be running really smoothly. Ordinarily, when we get a Pokemon Presents in February and they reveal a new game, the footage, the gameplay is kind of messy, and there's some frame rate issues, clear frame drops, and that wasn't the case in yesterday's trailer. So it makes me go, okay, they're further along with this game than they were Pokemon Legends Arceus, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which makes me think, yeah, it'll be done sooner than those games. So I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for this game, so I am happy about the window potentially being a lot earlier. I mean, a month is a lot. You figure it's 1/12 of the year. Let me have this. And by the way, I do want to thank my friend Poké because it was her who found both these pieces of info. For one, the Japanese trailer saying for Legends EA saying autumn time, and the Scarlet and Violet one saying winter time. Now, check out Poké seriously, because she is she actually lives in Japan, and she speaks the language, so she's one of the best people in the community for kind of translating stuff and getting accurate translations rather than those stupid little machine translations that you'll see going around. Now, something else that was noticed by Jordan on Twitter in the trailer is that the streets are color-coded. This is done by these little banners that you can see hanging up throughout the trailer. I noticed a green and a purple at least. And, this isn't huge, but it definitely is kind of important to knowing that they are going to kind of break up Lumio City into sections. And I think it just makes sense, because I imagine since we're in a city, some areas could look very similar. So by color coding it can be a lot easier to kind of navigate your way around the city. It's nothing huge, it's nothing groundbreaking, but I do think it's important to note. Now, this next bit of info, I'm actually cheating a little on, because it actually did not come from the trailer. It came from the official website, but they've got on there tons of information about, Eternal Flower Floette, Chikorita, Totodile, Tepig, and then also Zygarde. And the interesting thing to me was that for Zygarde's complete form, it has a bunch of information that we've all heard before from Dex entries, like it being able to, shoot energy from its chest and all this stuff. But then it says something about how its wings are able to take on different shapes and roles, or forms and roles, or something like that. And it's a weird thing to just randomly say. So I think it's something that we're going to be seeing taking a role in this game. I think that Zygarde complete form is going to get some kind of other form, perhaps a Mega Evolution. So, that is something that I really think is a hint at what that's going to look like, in my opinion. Because, again, everything else was kind of information we already knew about this complete form, but then this little snippet was thrown in, and as far as I can tell, it's brand new information. I think people picked up on this, but I do want to just make sure it is mentioned so that we all know it. This game is post X and Y. There was a lot of debate on, will a Legends game be set in the past or the future? This game is actually set in the future, at least post X and Y. It may not be like far like Jetsons future, but it's at least post X and Y. So we don't know how far past X and Y it is, but we know that it is post X and Y because there's obviously a modern feel to the city, yet AZ has his Floette, and of course AZ had his Floette leave him for 3,000 years and did not reunite with it until Pokemon X and Y. So the fact that these two are together now, does show that, like, this is after X and Y. Also, AZ seems to have, in my opinion, aged a little bit, which, that's also interesting too. That kind of brings us to our next point. AZ's age is really interesting here. You notice that he's walking with a cane. He did not walk with a cane back in Pokemon X and Y. Now, he did always have this, like, thing on his leg, so maybe he's got, like, some kind of leg issues and he's just decided to get a cane, maybe. But I personally think that he's getting up there in age. He's getting older. Now, he's actually very up there in age because he's 3,000 years old, and so a lot of people have thought that he's immortal. I would actually be willing to wager that maybe he's not even immortal, and we're looking at a thing similar to how, like, the Marvel Universe's Wolverine works, where, like, he does age. It's just incredibly slowly. Maybe it's something like that, or maybe somehow he's found a way to make his time here limited. There's all these different movies and stories where basically someone learns that immortality is not all that it's cracked up to be, and so perhaps that's something AZ went through. I don't know. Either way, I think that's interesting. Also, too, I know a lot of people want Eternal Flower Floette. Maybe AZ freaking dies, because that's kind of the only way to allow us to get Eternal Flower Floette. I do not hope that happens. I don't need this flower enough for, some man to die, but that is the only way I can see us getting Eternal Flower Floette, is if in the climax of the story, AZ sacrifices himself or maybe dies of old age, and so Floette is kind of left alone and we end up taking care of it. I don't know, though. I don't like that too much. But either way, I do think AZ's state can tell us a lot about how far after X and Y this is. There's other kind of more speculative things, like the player character looking like they could be Sycamore's kid. And that would imply, like 20-ish years, assuming Sycamore took like 4 years to get married and have kids. And then, we're now like 16. I would say that's a fair assumption. But I don't know. We could be grandkids. We don't know how far in the future this is set. But I'm very curious to see it. Now, we did also get a map of Lumiose, so this is going to be kind of the world that you're able to play in. Some interesting things here that you can go into the canal. You can see like a little space for it. You can also see the Lumiose Art Museum, and this is also in like some kind of art on the side of the map. So this is kind of interesting. I really like that museum. I think it's a really cool place. And it looks like it is returning in this game, and I'm so excited to go in it because this is such a cool place to like drop some lore and stuff. And yeah, it's got the same design and everything. You can also see, of course, Prism Tower is back, but those are the two big things. Also, the trailer opens with a train station. I'm assuming that this is the Lumiose train station. But yeah, definitely a few returning areas. There are some that are still kind of a mystery, like is this one building Sycamore's? We're not totally sure because we can kind of only see the back of it, but that's like the one place that's missing is Sycamore's lab at this point for major Lumiose locations. And on that note, we actually do even see the Looker Bureau. Now, for those who didn't know, at the end of Pokemon X and Y, in the post game, you do this whole plot with Looker and this new girl named Emma, and Looker's got this little bureau where he's investigating things going on in Lumiose City, and at the end, he ends up handing it to Emma. So while Looker may not return, I'd say it's a pretty safe bet that an aged up Emma will return, or if this is in the far future, which again I really don't think it is, then, it could be something else. And speaking of the passing of time, Lumiose has gotten a huge upgrade with its technology. Throughout the city, you can see warp panels, and you can also see, like, holographic people. And what I think is interesting about this is all Team Flare technology. Now, in Pokemon X and Y, it is Team Flare, or Lysander Labs specifically, which is owned by the top guy of Team Flare, Lysander. They made the Holocaster, which basically allowed like little projections of someone right in front of you where you could talk to them. They're a hologram, and we see like a very upgraded version of that now. We also do see warp panels throughout the city, and these warp panels are present in Team Flare bases, and they're present in other Pokemon games and other villain team bases, but for Kalos, it is a Team Flare technology. Now, this is interesting to me because it makes me think that Lysander Labs is still up and going. So the question is, who's running it? Could it perhaps be one of the Team Flare admins? I don't know. I suppose it could be Lysander. I imagine not, though, because I feel like that guy wouldn't be able to hide. I feel like people would know, hey, that's the guy who tried to kill everybody. And then they wouldn't let him, go around and do things. But that said, I wouldn't be too surprised at a Lysander return. I've done a video on that, but, it is very possible. His death was left open-ended in the sense that, no body, no death, right? Now I want to talk a few things about the trainer and some things I noticed the trainer doing. First off, the trainer does have their Mega Ring when they're getting their starter Pokemon. This is really interesting to me because in every game where we've been able to access Mega Evolution, the Mega Ring has been something that we would get pretty far into the game. At the very least, it would be something that, like, we get at the third gem. In Pokemon X and Y, you do get it right after the third gem. I am blanking on when you get in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but I think even then it's like the 6th gem after that or something. And then in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, it's pretty late in it. And for Pokemon Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it's the post game. So to see that right off the bat, before we have a starter Pokemon, we have a Mega Ring is pretty big, and it makes me wonder, how exactly we got that so early. Something that used to be so rare and kind of you had to prove yourself to get. We got it right now. That's very interesting to me. This could have something to do with us potentially being Sycamore's kid. If our dad is our professor, well, maybe he hooked us up. If your dad is Steve Jobs, I imagine you have an iPhone. I think it's the same logic here. Now, some other things I saw the trainer do was parkour. You see a moment where they literally grab a roof and kind of hoist themselves up. I think everybody noticed where they used the Rotom phone to double jump in air, and then also they were sitting at a cafe and apparently placed an order. This is kind of interesting to me just because, for one, sitting's big to me in a Pokemon game. Okay, that was first introduced in X and Y. I like being able to sit and the camera changes and I just get to see a beautiful scene. I like that. I'm a simple guy. I like that. But then also placing an order. What does this do? Does it boost my friendship with my Totodile? What's going on here? I don't know, but I wanted to point out it's important to me. Also, rolling from Legends Arceus is back. You see a moment where the trainer is, he's got a Lucario out, and he does a little barrel roll to escape a flamethrower from a Pyroar. So that's cool. Rolling's back in Legends Arceus. I can't wait to not walk around and instead only just roll everywhere, because that is what I did in Legends Arceus, and you know what? I'm done being ashamed of that. That's what I did. And lastly, let's talk about a few things that I noticed about the Pokemon. So first off, Mega Evolutions seem to have this rainbow hue to them now. It's not overly there, but it is slightly there, and this is something that we hadn't seen before. So I don't know, just the kind of idea that they're redesigning Megas in a sense makes me think that maybe they'll even rework Megas. I don't know though. We'll see. This game is reworking Battle, so it's are they reworking Megas for this game or forever? And I think most people knows this, but Pokemon following you returns. Obviously, people know that in the battles, the Pokemon's kind of following you, so you can use that to make them dodge attacks and stuff. But I'm not even talking about that. We see shots of just the player running with their starter next to them. So it seems that Pokemon following you returns. This is big in my opinion, because in Legends Arceus, it was just you kind of threw out your Pokemon, and it was really cool. You could see your Pokemon. I like that feature a lot because you could throw them all out, do a team picture. But in this time, it's just they are actually able to follow you, which I think people like a lot. Now, the question is, will it be limited to one Pokemon? Can I still send out my Pokemon for a family photo? Because that means a lot to me. Maybe it shouldn't. Maybe that's dumb, but it means a lot to me. Also in this game, it looks like Pokemon don't faint, or at least it takes them longer to faint. We see the player character like knock out the Pokemon, but instead of fainting into the underworld, this Pokemon like kind of gets dizzy and, you know, does like this. And so it's able to, like, that gives you a moment to catch the Pokemon when it's knocked out. Perhaps that's even like a guaranteed capture. I don't know, but that is interesting. I imagine it's on time limit though. Like the Pokemon's not just gonna sit there dizzy forever for you to catch it. I imagine it's like, okay, you got like 5 seconds of it like being dizzy, and then it goes to the underworld. You know, that's my guess. But we'll see. It is interesting to know, though, they don't just straight faint right after being defeated. Now, one last thing about Chikorita, and this was brought to my attention, rather, on a live stream with Hidden Power Podcast. But Chikorita actually uses Disarming Voice. Now, this is interesting because Chikorita doesn't learn Disarming Voice. Now, Legends has given some different movesets before, but this is kind of different because Chikorita isn't even a fairy type. And what I'm getting at here is this could be a hint to what Meganium's regional form, or perhaps its Mega Evolution. I think there's a chance these starters end up Mega Evolving rather than getting a regional variant for their evolution. But this could be a hint at what the typing will be with the fairy typing. And yeah, Tepig did also use Rollout, but this is actually a move that Tepig is already able to learn. So, you know, I feel like we can't give it as much credit, whereas Chikorita, them randomly slapping Disarming Voice on it, makes me go, that's kind of sus. And frankly, even if it's not an indication of the typing that Meganium could get, it does make me happy that they're revisiting this little guy's moveset, because it wasn't so hot before. So yeah. But yeah, there you have it, guys. Those are a few things that I noticed in the trailer, or were brought to my attention by someone else in the trailer, that I think are pretty big. I think, you know, maybe you've missed those things, but at the very least, if you haven't missed those things, they're not being talked about as much on like YouTube and Twitter. So I want to talk about them here. So let me know what you think of these things in the comments below. Let me know if there's something you picked up on that you think is pretty important. All that fun stuff. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Got plenty more planned with Legends ZA, and I'm so excited to cover this game throughout the year, and then eventually it comes out, and then I get to play it, and then, you know, I'll cover it more. But more importantly, I'm a Pokemon fan first and foremost. I get to play it. I'm excited to play it. And until next time, I'll see all of you later.